Hey, aloha, Charles. Happy Saturday to you, bro.
How you doing, brother? Yeah, doing
I'm
fine.
doing good, man. I'm doing good because I have a fan blowing straight into me. Um, it's a little warm right here. Patsy's up baking for a community event tomorrow,
Oh,
so
that's
she
good.
is busy without the fan. I have to go get her another fan tomorrow. I'll get another fan tomorrow. But anyway, some interesting things today. Again, the numbers rising. Man, the Big Island is getting hit pretty hard. Josh Green came on the news tonight. He's concerned. 11 people in hospitals, in Hilo Hospital, and they're they're in trouble, man. They're in trouble, and three more people passed away, and
Uh,
people still violating the rules everywhere you go. Violating the rules everywhere you go, especially on Honolulu.
everybody trying. I mean, even some of our staunchest haters are now starting to realize. I mean, I got couple messages from individuals who disagree with me, but again, it was a pleasant conversation. It was very pleasant, and they starting. I'm not saying that they're converted, but they actually see the difficulties that are now being encountered, and they kind of know why we feel the way I feel. And I've always said this to people: if you wanna flirt with death, go jump out of the plane by yourself with no parachute. Just focus it on you if you want to live that kind of life. But don't take a chance where you're going to endanger someone else, especially a senior, because we're seeing too many times, that game of tag, that senior is that 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 senior is getting tagged, and it's just one of those things, it just I cannot get overly excited about it, nor can I get very angry about it. I'm just in a lull today because it's unbelievable how these numbers. I mean, it just popped up all of a sudden. Just popped up, and it's coming like gangbusters, boy. And it reminds me of a fire where you just don't have enough water to put it out, and one can only hope that it's heading in a direction that we cut on fire break and hoping for the best.
Again, I mean, I go back to what Donna Mercado Kim, Senator Mercado Kim, said months ago about hope is not a strategy, and our leaders supposed to have us have a plan, and it's simply not working. They come out all big body though. They pass all these rules. They make all these rules. Stay at home. You cannot do this. Local people, 14-day quarantine. But if you're from Hollywood and you're making a movie, we'll let you take a test, and then you can knock off your quarantine after 6 days. You know, you guys all stay at home. If you don't, you're gonna get cited or arrested. But if you're protesting the stay-at-home order in the state capitol in the government's face, we'll let you guys go. If you go protest in front of the county building in Lihui, no masks, no social distance, that's okay. But if you try go, you know what I'm trying to say, Charlie? It's just so the local residents get screwed. We lose faith in our leaders because they come out with all these things and simply not. It's see, I have to talk already. I just so pissed off. You the haves and the have-nots, and if you're not in that elite group, if you're not in that politically connected group, or if you don't have money, you don't have nothing to offer this governor or his people, then you just suck wind, man, and you deal with it. And if you get arrested, you get arrested. But if you come around and I get the whole thing about jobs and economy and all of that, but I don't have a problem with the 6-day deal. But allow that same deal to the local people who got to go to the mainland or to other islands. to visit family, loved ones, sick grandmas and grandpas, or taking their kids to school. Give us the same damn uh, break. But no, 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 no. You guys get the 14 days. And anyway, it's a mess. It's a mess.
You know what I would have loved to see, because we had Dr. Miskovich on, and he told us how you can create that secured bubble, right? How you can create it is that when their 6 days of quarantine is over, I wish that as long as they're on island filming, that they have the quarantine for the entire duration, because they got special privileges, right? Make them
Yep.
stay on the property. They can quarantine on the property, move about however they want, but they just cannot leave the property because they really wanted to make a show on their property, right? It was, from my understanding, is nowhere else they want to go. Then stay on their property, and if you guys filming calls for a schedule, they're gonna last you 3 weeks. You stay on the property for 3 weeks. Then I think everybody will say, okay, because why? We create that tight bubble, and it cannot go outside of the bubble. But
How
ah,
about you film the damn thing out in Mexico or someplace else? Why would you go to a place that has a pandemic, that has raging numbers and people dying? Why would you take your production there? I mean, that's just. I guess I'm just an idiot. I guess I just
well,
don't think like those people.
I think because if they were to go to Mexico, uh, everybody shoot back with guns. We don't.
Yeah.
um, people, they get critters over there that likes to bite and eat people. We don't have it here. I think maybe that's that's why they come to Hawaii.
Yeah.
You
Well, I guess for me, it's we leave it up to our leaders to. For me, fairness is all. It's all about fairness. That's all it comes down to. Like I said, I don't have an issue with the 6-day deal. I mean, that's what we advocated 4 months ago with the Kauai discussion group, right? The two tests,
know.
7-day quarantine. I mean, the 6-day. On the 6-day, you take your test. If you negative, on the 7-day, your quarantine is over. No, 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 cannot do that. But here comes Hollywood. Hollywood, no problem. Whatever you want, man. Whatever you want, because you're gonna, and again, just what's good for them should be good for our local people. That's all I'm saying. So anyway,
Well, I respond to one, Mr. Harker. He says the thing won't work the way I mentioned it. Yeah, it will work because, like Miskovich said, you test them every day. You test them every day. People coming on the property, you test them as well. This is being paid for by the producers of that film. If you that if you that hep on doing the filming in Hawaii, then you pay the price. I mean, right? That's what they tell us. That's the price we pay for living in paradise, right? Oh, it's a two-way street, man. You want to come do business here? You know, the film crew and all that. Yeah, you have the, just like anything else. You have the food brought in, dropped at the entrance to the property. Then from there, they take it onto the property. It's no different than how you doing it now if you're quarantined at home.
yeah,
That's how it is.
it's just again, I think when you're in a pandemic, um, you just treat things a little. Well, you should anyway. Treat things a little differently. We have been stripped of many of our rights as citizens during the pandemic. And you know what? Most of us are okay with it because of the respect and the care we have for our loved ones and our kupuna. And those that don't give a shit will go out and walk in the park without their mask to make a statement. To me, that's the difference. And I know some people say, if you're protesting, you have that right. Well, you have that right. You have that right to go there and hold whatever sign you want, but wear the damn mask. Why you gotta be so difficult? Wear the mask. Protest all you want. Run around naked with a sign, I don't care, but wear a mask and cover your olos. Anyway, tonight we have Megan Cowell from Honolulu. She's a private attorney. She does civil and criminal law. We're going to be bringing her in right now. She's, although you cannot see her, and she's actually, the difference between Zoom and what we're using now is when they go in the waiting room in Zoom, they cannot hear us. But with this platform, they can, and I cannot mute her. So she's heard everything we said, and I should have watched my language. But anyway, there's there's Megan. How are you, Megan?
Aloha.
Hi, Mel. It's okay. I get feel I'm out too.
Okay. Well, this show is obviously uncensored, unedited. It, um, so feel free to say what you want to say. Again, before we start, look on the screen and look at Charlie's high tech graphic. Please share this. Share it right now because tonight we're gonna talk about an interesting topic which we've been discussing. We really haven't had any answers though, because we never had anybody on the show, an attorney or a judge or anything like that, that could explain the process. Where did it start, and what happened? So Megan, I'm so happy to have her here. Obviously, as an attorney, a criminal and civil defense attorney. No, criminal defense and civil attorney. Sorry. And so go ahead and share this right now, and we will put that up so everybody knows who she is. We're learning to see. This is brand new. This whole platform, so I get all these buttons I can play with, and I'm having a good time with it.
I like
My,
it.
my
What is it?
my my favorite. It's called Restream, but this is my favorite one right here.
I like it.
Okay, good. So, Megan, you're there in the hot zone in Honolulu. How's it going,
I'm
girl?
I'm here.
You guys are on lockdown, right?
We are. I cannot invite nobody to my house, but I can go to a restaurant and eat with four other people.
You know, how's that? Yeah. Okay. So if I'm not living with my girlfriend, she cannot come to my house and I cannot go to her house, but we can go to the movie theater and sit with people we don't know. Really
Yeah.
bizarre stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Makes
bizarre
sense to
stuff.
me.
Yeah. Can I go to the beach? You cannot go sit down on the beach, but you can sit in a restaurant. Or no, they stopped that, right? That's right.
Yeah.
Takeout only. I'm
Take
sorry.
out only.
Take out only. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So how's life with that? And you as an attorney, how does it work? I mean, you obviously get to go to work, or you work from home.
Yeah.
What do you?
Well, I work from home anyways, but the courts are still open. So I had trial yesterday.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
I,
Courts don't close.
no, I know. My wife works at the court, and she's got to go there every single day, and I worry every day because a lot of people go through those doors every single day, and it's not. I'm not real comfortable with that. I feel for all of you guys. You guys get a tough job, but so straight work, straight home.
Yep, that's it.
Uh, um, well, we wish you guys the best over there. So, Megan,
Thank
we
you.
had months ago we had I'll just call it a prisoner release program. I don't know what the real term is, but a few months ago we let some inmates out because we were afraid that if we kept them in, they would get the virus, or there was an opportunity, and it would be quickly spread. So we let some go, and then everything happened. A few of them, in fact, a lot of them went out and got rearrested or whatever, and then it kind of quieted down, and then OCCC blew up with cases, and then we had this recent release program, which is actually in process right now. So maybe you can help us understand how this all started, what happened the last go around, and what happened on this go around.
Yeah, so in March or maybe April, but the first release, yeah, the public defenders filed a petition with the Supreme Court, our Hawaii Supreme Court, which is the highest court in our state. And they said basically, hey, Supreme Court, can you issue an order releasing all of our clients? And so they put each of the defendants in certain categories, and they released, I want to say, it depends on which news article you read, but between 300 and 800 people. Okay. And then the problem with that was HPD came back and said, in a Hawaii News Now article, that 40% of the people that have been released reoffended. And the problem with that was my auntie got robbed at gunpoint while she was working at Texaco by one of the releasees. And then my CPA firm, the partner who's 70 years old, got beaten with a golf club because one of the guys that had been released was sleeping in front of the firm. The partner of the firm asked him to leave. This is not a place for people to live. And the guy reacted by beating a 70-year-old partner with a golf club. And then he was arrested for assault in the second degree. His name was Rocky Ben. He got arrested he was released from OCCC on March 10, 2020. And then on March 16, 2020, he beat the 70-year-old partner of the CPA firm with a golf club. And so, that's the kind of releases that we had going on. And
So
then,
this was before the COVID release. This was the one that happened the last time,
right, this was the first release.
the first go around.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the kind of stuff we saw happening over here, and people were contacting me. This other guy, Rashad Battle, he violated on March 21st, 2020. He harassed someone by threatening them. Okay. So he bonded out and on March 27, 2020, and on March 31st, 2020, which was 4 days after he was released, he hit somebody, he striked them, and then stole from them. So he was released again because of COVID. He was released on April 1st, 2020. Then on April 3rd, 2020, which is only 2 days later, he assaults somebody and gets arrested for assault in the third degree. And you know what? They released him again.
Megan, can I? This is Charlie Iona. Can I ask you, with these much offenses, as an attorney, you see people continually getting victimized by an individual that appears not to have been that doesn't appear to have been vetted properly to be released. Is there some liability issues now with the state because of that release? Or is it?
Plenty of people
Go ahead.
ask me that. And, in order to bring a civil case as a plaintiff, you have to be able to prove by a preponderance of the evidence. And that means more likely than not. Yeah. So I'm going to talk about burdens. Civil, in order to win money, when you sue someone for money, you got to prove that the defendant more likely than not did something bad and that you got damages for it. Criminal is proof beyond a reasonable doubt. That's the highest standard, legal standard that we have in our system. And so in order for a defendant in a criminal matter to be found guilty, the jury or the judge has to find him guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. So those are two very different standards, yeah? So
Okay.
if someone wants to bring a lawsuit against the state because they suffered damages, let's say the 70-year-old CPA partner wants to bring a lawsuit, he would have to prove that the state was negligent by a preponderance of the evidence, more likely than not, and that he suffered damages. The problem is the state, it's going to be questionable whether the state was negligent, right? If they're faced with this pandemic that's worldwide, is the jury going to believe that the state was acting in the community's best interest, or that the state had a duty to the CPA partner to make sure that he wasn't going to be hurt and they violated that duty? So a jury will have to determine that.
Okay. So in this case, because you have a repeated offender, it seems like there's a pattern, and the pattern is always, I can see maybe violence once, and then maybe the rest is just harassment type, non-violent. But it appears it's been violent every single time, released and brought back. So that evidence alone will, the courts look that you cannot use evidence from other cases that he's been involved with going forward. Will they try to block that? Because I think that would be the shoe-in, right? To show that, hey, just like how they say you're not supposed to profile anyone, but how can you not help looking at this person having a preponderance of violence every single time that he's confronted, whether it be authoritative or not? He acts out in that way.
Yeah, so the plaintiff, let's just use the CPA, the 70-year-old CPA partner, he would be able to show that the state was negligent because they never checked, right? Or they checked and they said, we're going to release him anyways. But I believe they didn't check. They just released him.
Okay, thank you. Wow.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what a lot of people have been saying for quite a while, and it was I when they were releasing prisoners, I think it was more of a an excuse or an opportunity, I should say, for them to start taking care of the overcrowdedness, which is again, an issue that the state failed to address from years ago. That rather than build more prisons or make more room, no, they kept stuffing these prisoners in, and then the Maui riots happened, right? And then everybody, it became a now everyone knew, the public knew that we had overcrowding, ridiculous overcrowding, and they weren't worried about the inmate civil rights back then. All these years with overcrowding, no one was ever concerned about the inmate civil rights. Now all of a sudden, we get COVID, and to me, and maybe Megan, correct me if I'm wrong. And again, as with all of our guests, we don't talk to our guests beforehand. So if we don't agree, that's perfectly fine. But a lot of people, including myself, felt the safest place for the prisoner, if we had controls in place, would be in jail, rather than bring them out and expose them to COVID outside. Now, OCCC, that came about again by total mismanagement. But what's your thoughts on that? Did you agree with releasing those prisoners using COVID
No,
as an example?
no way. I did a Facebook Live event and I posted all the time and I said, I object to the release of COVID inmates because, I have a reason. It's because these inmates were already found to be a danger to the community. That's why the judge never let them out already. So releasing them just because of COVID doesn't make sense because a court heard the evidence, heard the arguments of both his or her attorney and the prosecutor, and made an objective decision that this guy cannot be released into the community, either because he's not going to come back to court when he's required to, or because he's going to reoffend. And so releasing them into the community just because of COVID does not make sense.
I mean, I agree, and I just, again, I think it was more of an opportunity for them to make more room in the cells, and using COVID as an excuse. Now we see it at OCCC now, where however that started. I mean, I don't trust our contact tracers to determine whether it came from a jail guard or corrections officer coming in or an inmate going to court. No one will ever know, in my opinion. But regardless, yeah, now we had the blow up and releasing prisoners again. And this time we're releasing prisoners. The way I read the Supreme Court ruling was all misdemeanors and petty misdemeanors, all misdemeanors and non-violent crimes. And in fact, the last amendment was some felonies too, right?
Right. So now, as of August 17, 2020, the Hawaii Supreme Court has ordered that as of August 17, 2020, anyone that
Uh-oh.
was convicted. Oh, am I cut off?
No.
No, you froze up for a little while, but you're good now. You're good. As of August 17th.
Yeah, so anybody in OCCC that has a petty misdemeanor or a misdemeanor must be released immediately as long as they don't test positive. This also includes felony people that are pending sentencing or pending trial, but it doesn't include sex assaults, homicide, assault, kidnapping, child abuse, burglary, robbery, abuse of a family or household member, TRO violations, unauthorized entry into a dwelling, and the attempted crimes for all of those that I just listed. So if you're pending trial or you've been convicted and you're waiting to be sentenced for any of those crimes, then you don't automatically get released. But the defense attorney can still file a motion, ask the court to release you. You're just not automatically released. And I do want to point out that these orders don't apply to the people in Halawa and Arizona. So our sentenced felons are not included in these orders.
I see. So that was one of the questions I saw on the feed. And when I look away, Megan, it's because I'm reading the comments on the screen that's off to the side. But one of them, the questions was asking about our prisoners that are out of state. Those are not affected by this order.
They are not. And I will say the Public Defender's Office did ask the court to release people that are serving a term of 6 months or less. but there hasn't been a resolution regarding that. The most recent thing that was filed was August 27, 2020. Nolan Espinda filed a response to a motion to compel, and he said that he objects to providing the court with a list of the sentenced felons, which are the people in Halawa and Saguaro, serving 6 months or less because they should not be released. So there hasn't been a disposition yet.
So that could happen at some point. That motion was filed by the defense side that they wanted to get these guys out.
Yeah, correct.
Okay, so let me kind of like roll back the clock a little. Because I hear that the Supreme Court made a ruling to, I guess, like a recipe book on what's going to take place. So probably both the defense and the state had to go and state their case in front of them and leave it up to them to make the decision. It seems pretty clear, based on all those categories that one would think is dangerous. Yeah, you keep them in there, but you still have other cases of felonies that's available that would qualify for release. So, there's been so much time and effort, money spent by law enforcement agencies to bring someone to justice, right? To go through the whole adjudicative process, but now they're let go. Is there a recall when they got to come back in when this whole thing blows over, or it's like aloha oi, catch me if you can?
So for the misdemeanor guys, they gotta come back on, I think it's February 17th, 2021 at 8:30. They gotta appear at courtroom 7C, District Court. So that's just for the misdemeanors and the petty misdemeanors. For the felony guys that are released, there's no return date. They don't have a date by which they have to check in with the court. And so they're just out in the community without supervision, without a date to return to court.
And what would you think that kind of sounds backwards, because if we were to look at the degree, misdemeanors and petty misdemeanors at the low of the rung of the ladder, and the felonies are much higher. Why wouldn't? Because they're the ones that, if you had to profile them, they're the ones that most likely going to reoffend, if anything, and not even tap them into some kind of supervisory program.
Yeah, I agree with you. I didn't have a seat at the table when this was going on. On August 14th, 2020, Dwight Nadamoto argued on behalf of the community, and Claire Connors was there representing Nolan.
Okay.
Espinda.
Oh, we lost your sound. We lost your sound, Megan.
Oh, yeah. There you go.
There you go.
Oh, okay. Sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Freaking technology. Yeah, so it's backwards, right? Because the felons are the ones with a higher degree of severity, and the petty misdemeanors and the misdemeanors are the lower degree. But for whatever reason, they came up with a schedule requiring the petty misdemeanors and misdemeanor violators to come back on February 17th.
Wow.
Amazing. The prisoners are being released without having anywhere to go, without having a job. That is a concern. You're turning people loose into a community that is obviously now they're on lockdown, but even pre-lockdown, you have these people they have nowhere to go, and they have no means to survive, to eat, to buy food. What does one expect them to do? And I think that was my bigger concern. And I know it's happening because I obviously work in the field, and I know that we have inmates that are released that have nowhere to go. Now, isn't there a process in place where they would verify that these people that are being released will have someone that's going to say, yeah, they're going to come and stay with us. Yeah, I'll make sure that they have their basic needs met. I don't believe there's any of that. I think these public defenders are coming forward and saying, hey, I want my client out. I don't want him to get COVID. He's safer on the outside than he is on the inside. And that's it. Is that kind of what's happening right now?
Actually, Mel, it's the opposite. So I hear you loud and clear, but in the order, it specifically says that for these felonies that I've just discussed, not including those exceptions, right? But for
Mm-hmm.
those felonies, the automatic presumption is to release the felon, okay? And the court specifically put in the order, you can only deny release if it poses a significant risk to the safety of the inmate or the public. And it specifically says judges must not require verified residences for the defendants unless such a condition is supported by specific factual findings in an individual case. So it's the total opposite. They cannot even require a residence to go to.
You know, I think what's frustrating, and I think you would kind of agree. We first have this all these orders or proclamations made by our governor and by the mayor that some of us are having a really hard time wrapping our heads around it because, like you said when you first started, you you cannot do this, but you can do this, and it just doesn't make sense, right? So you add that frustration onto the frustrations we're talking about now, and you got to ask yourself, when is it going to be the tipping point that chaos will break out? Because we're almost there, because it doesn't seem like there's anything that really protects the law abiding citizen. And I think that's what a lot of people are asking right now. If we are law abiding, yet somebody who victimized, like your aunt or your whoever victimizes them, and without even having to go to a trial to determine whether guilt or innocence, they're given a free pass. It's like judgment has been made. You innocent. Go start again. Because what happens if the person reoffends? Is it two cases now that comes before the courts? The one that he never got tried for in the first place because he was released by COVID, and the second one that he commits. It seems like everything is lumped into one package now.
Yeah, so I'll tell you, I was never political, but as you guys know, I'm running for prosecutor, and I think it really does matter who the prosecutor is, right? Because it matters if you have a certain argument versus another one. So let's say at the bail hearing or at the Supreme Court hearing, the prosecutor gets up for a mere 4 minutes and just says, well, Supreme Court justices, we disagree with this, so we're going to object. You compare that to someone else that goes up there and argues for 20 minutes and says, listen, justices, the reason why we object is because this guy, Rocky Ben, he was released on, February 7th and then March 10th, and then reoffended, assaulted a 70-year-old man because he never had nowhere to go. And then you got this other guy, Rashad Battle. He was arrested March 21st, then released 2 days later. He reoffends. 3 days later, he beats someone. So it makes a difference, right? When the Supreme Court is sitting there listening to the arguments, because if they're only hearing from the prosecutor, well, judge, we object. They don't have any other information. They don't know this kind of stuff. The Supreme Court doesn't get a file with all the records of all the people that reoffended. It's up to the prosecutor to tell the justices, hey, we object because this guy did this, and this guy did that, and this girl did that, right? So the Supreme Court is sitting up there with no information other than what it's told from the parties. So it really does matter who's arguing and what they're saying.
I agree. I agree.
I haven't heard any of the statistics as far as the recent. We know the first go around, the number I heard on the news was 40%. 40% of the people reoffended. Now, 40% is a big number, and the percentage is meaningless. It's really because even if 1% reoffended and assaulted your auntie, that's major. The percentages. So even at 1%, but in this case it was 40%. It's horrific. Um, I haven't heard anything about this second go round. I know the release has started, but do you have any idea of if we have had any reoffenders with this recent COVID release, this most recent one?
I
I
don't
haven't
think
seen
there's any. Yeah, well, I will say there was a news article regarding that, and I think it was a little misleading. I'm not a big fan of some of the media, and it was kind of written to show that people that were just released reoffended, but that is not accurate. As of August 27, 2020, 41 of the 44 eligible inmates were released. So 10 inmates were inadvertently held, but they were eventually released when the Department of Public Safety realized there was a mistake that was made. And now only 3 inmates are being held because they're positive and they're being treated. So I don't have a count on the number of felony inmates that were released, but we don't have a count yet. I think it's been a matter of 5 days that they've been released. So I think HPD doesn't have any statistics yet.
Yeah, I know I could be wrong. Charlie, you would probably know this, but I heard that 30 more inmates tested positive today in
Yeah.
their report, and about 3 more staff. I'm just wondering, in this release, that's why I just don't get it. I don't get, because we know about incubation periods. We know that, some people, the virus stays in them for 20, 30 days, 32 days, I think in Korea was the longest. But we were so anxious to get them out. And I'm concerned that because of the outbreak in OCCC and the number of inmates that contracted the virus or tested positive, I gotta believe that some of these that are being released may be carrying that virus, and that I don't think was taken into consideration, as these people will be going out in the general community, potentially infecting the general public. And I'm not sure if that was even brought up in the arguments.
Well, I will say there have been releases of people that were positive, and so the Department of Health has been trying to contact trace these people in order to warn people around them now that they've tested positive.
Hey,
You know,
you're a defense attorney, right, Megan?
I am, yeah.
How difficult is it sometimes to get in touch with your clients?
It's very difficult. OCCC you cannot call them. You gotta go
That's my
down. Then
point, and,
when you
and
go
you're
down,
the lawyer.
yeah,
You're the
yeah,
lawyer, the person that's going to help them in court. And I just know this, that it's difficult. Clients and attorneys, defense attorneys have a rough time getting in touch with each other. So if they're not responding to your call and you're on their side, you think they're going to respond a call from a telephone number that starts with your state prefix? Hell no, they're not going to answer no damn phone. They sure as hell ain't going to return the call, thinking, oh my God, they're telling me I got to go back in. Just I
yeah.
don't know.
I agree. So you know what I think is happening, and I don't know Nolan Ispinda. I never met him. Maybe I met him in passing, but I've never sat down with him and had a conversation. And I don't know anyone at the Department of Public Safety, but I think what has to happen is someone needs to take the reins. Someone got to sit everybody down that has a good understanding of how each of the departments and each of the divisions work, and say, listen, this is what we got to do. And I don't think that's been happening with the prosecutor's office for the past, 3 elected prosecutors, because they were just prosecutors and that's what they did. And that's what the community expected them today to do. But today is very different, right? We're dealing with a pandemic that nobody could have foreseen or predicted. And so someone got to take the reins and tell everybody what to do and sit everybody down and say, this is what we got to do.
we had this discussion before, and that is, if we had to take into relation to the first release and now the second release, an amount of time has passed where you would think a facility that houses individuals, as they're releasing individuals because they're worrying about a pandemic, right? Because the first time they was doing a release program when there was no known cases, there was 0 cases. Then somehow between that time and to the second time, cases started to infiltrate and get into the prison walls. So now you have this outbreak. But yet we know, basically from information from guards, who have gotten sick, that they said there was no plan in effect. So basically, all these months go by when there's really no plan. And so now they're taking into account we're going to go on this release program because we're worried about COVID, but actually COVID came from the outside in. So now what do you do? So now we try to stop COVID in place. And because they have a difficult time even doing that, they said, if we lessen the load, we'll get a bigger chance. But then it can also be too that, if there is this what you talk about, the difficulty in trying to contact a person, hey, you positive, you out there, you shouldn't be out there, but you got to take precautionary measures. Uh, Again, some of these people, their characteristics, zebras don't change its stripes. They don't like listen from day one. What make you think they're gonna listen again? So you tell them you got to quarantine. Hey, I've been locked up for so many months. I ain't quarantined for nothing. And then you have this problem, and it just keeps on manifesting itself. So this is what we kind of were discussing before. How how do you manage this juggling act between lessening the load and trying to get, because I would have thought by now the prison would put its best foot forward and say these are the optimum prisoners that you can release if you're looking at releasing to reduce the load inside the prison. These are the optimum ones right here. And it doesn't appear, they just was going by, it almost seems like random numbers. It says, okay, let's get you together in this shoebox. Let's pull out names. Okay, that's how we're going to release you. Because especially when you're telling us it's somebody that's reoffending so many times in a short period of, short window, right? That guy has some major anger issues, man.
Yeah, so the first thing to note is that OCCC has been overcrowded for over 20 years. This is not something that just happened yesterday and we trying to fix it. This has been an ongoing problem for a long time. And so probably, I mean, I'm not trying to backseat drive nobody's, direction. I don't envy Nolan Espinda or the Department of Public Safety, but you know, there are things that can be done within the jails and the prisons to lighten the load. We can create pretrial release programs. We can hire more Oahu Intake Service Center officers to monitor people so that they can be released on certain conditions and make sure that they check in. This wasn't being done, and I don't know why. It could be funding, could be politics, I don't know, but those are the things that could have been done. Now that we're in the midst of a pandemic, what I would have helped the Department of Public Safety do is create programs. For example, work with a church. We should have been doing this in March, right? Work with churches that are closed and try to get like one Oahu Intake Service Center officer assigned to each church with 20 people, so that we're monitoring people, not just letting them out into the public without any type of supervision. Maybe use the Aloha Stadium that's not being used or something, I mean, I don't know. I do see in Nolan's most recent filing, he does say that they were considering outside facilities other than the Department of Public Safety facilities. And, because I don't have a seat at the table, I don't know what that means. But those are some things that, I just think about just knowing the system.
Mm, okay.
We were talking about that months ago about the infamous Sheriff Joe Arpaio. He has all his inmates in tents. They wear pink underwear. They have bologna sandwiches for lunch. I think he's the most sued sheriff in the country. But I'll never forget his statement to the media when people were accusing him of violating civil rights, and he says, our troops sleep in cots, sleep in foxholes, in freezing weather and steaming hot weather. If these tents are good enough for our soldiers, then they're good enough for our inmates. And that stayed with me for forever. And it's to me, and we can, in this tropical climate, we can have outdoor prison. You can set up these tents. Now we're talking about the non-violent criminals, these guys that we're releasing into the public right now. We didn't have to do that. This whole thing was rushed. Like you said, Megan, this didn't happen just overnight. This thing has been a problem for many, 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 many years. COVID, we found out about COVID February, March. There was really no discussion. We knew, right? Everyone knew that jails would be a problem area because of the closed confined quarters. We knew that, and there was no plan, and that's really hard to frustrate you right now. But if I'm an inmate and I get released, Megan, you're a private attorney. I get released. My intentions are really good. I did really good in prison. I started, I went church, started reading, but now I get released and I'm hungry and I don't have money. I have nowhere to go. So I go and I steal something. I shoplift or I yank somebody's purse to take her money or his money so I can go buy me a hot meal. And I get arrested and I come to see you and I tell you, Miss Cow, I didn't want to do it, but I was hungry. I was starving. I had nowhere to go. And I told the jail, but they told me I had to be released. I had no choice. I didn't want to leave, but they told me I had to. I just did it because if I didn't, I would starve. I mean, how do you deal with a defendant like that?
You know,
You know,
somebody did ask me that, like, if they don't want to go because they don't have nowhere to go, can they stay at OCCC? And, I don't know the answer to that question, but how does that make sense that we release someone that's set up for failure because they don't have nowhere to go, they don't have a job, they don't have support? I mean, it really doesn't make sense. And I mean, that's what these orders say, basically. Even though they don't have nowhere to go, let them out. And I do want to mention that on August 27th, so just 2 days ago, the Supreme Court did file a new order. Okay. And it says basically that if you were arrested since the original order was filed, you must, and you're a misdemeanant or petty misdemeanant, you must be released immediately. So we already know that. But what we didn't know is if you get arrested since the order was filed, the trial court shall not set bail, but shall release such individuals on their own recognizance or on supervised release and may impose conditions. So basically, if someone gets released because of COVID, goes out and commits, like you just said, another petty misdemeanor or misdemeanor and comes back, they're going to be released right away.
that's like really stupid. It's like really really stupid. A lot of people are asking this question: are these inmates? There goes Charlie. He's gonna start, and he does not stop laughing. Megan, I don't know this, and I don't expect you to know it, but do you know? Look, there he goes. Do you know if these inmates are given benefits when they leave? Any welfare, food stamps, EBTs, whatever the heck they call them now? Are these
They're not.
inmates? They're not
No,
giving that.
they're
Okay,
not given that.
that's what I
You know,
thought. But
let me tell you folks one thing. Because of what Megan, thank you. But any prisoners out there that got released and you're watching this, you just been given the secret. If you commit some more crimes, shit is gonna happen to you.
Yeah, I know. Kind of
uh,
irritating, right?
that was brought up. There's people, and you know this, Megan. There are people, and I know because I have family members that fit this category.
Oh man.
The life in jail is not that bad for them. That in fact they have been in so many times or for so long that it's not a big deal to them. They've grown accustomed to that life, and when they do come out, life on the outside is even tougher than being on the inside. So they do what they do because if they get caught, it's no big deal. They're going back to the life that they know and they have adapted to, and that is what scares me about this because right now, and again, like Charlie said, I hope they're not watching this. And those of you that are watching this that are thinking about it, don't do that. Remember, we do the right thing on this show. But there's no real risk right now. There's
There
no real
isn't.
risk if you're a petty criminal. If you're stealing, you're not obviously not murder and assaulting somebody or beating up your wife or whatever. But if you go steal something, you're not going to jail.
Well, let me clarify that, yeah. Because if you're charged with harassment because you threaten somebody or you push them or shove them or strike them or kick them, or you assaulted someone, which is intentionally caused pain to someone else, you're going to be released. That is included in the petty misdemeanor and misdemeanor category. So even if you're, to me, that's violence, right? Because if
Well,
someone strikes
that's
or
what I
shoves
thought.
me, that's violent, right? But those guys, they're being released.
Okay, that
You know the sad thing about it. If one of them were to do that to me, and I'm a law-abiding citizen, and what it did is it garnered a violent response from me, and I broke the okole, I'm gonna have more done to me than that baboons. I mean, that's what it sounds like, right?
But
Am I not correct?
it depends who your
What?
prosecutor is.
Yeah. So I think why I am laughing is that if you did not reveal these fine footnotes in what you just read us, the average Joe Joe citizen or Mary citizen or whatever citizen, they wouldn't know this kind of stuff. They would be so frustrated to say, "Hey, I was victimized by that knucklehead, and he's reoffending again," not understanding why he cannot go back in just by what you read. I think everybody got to make. I mean, I don't want to laugh, but I'm like I always tell everybody, I'm a lovable guy. Just don't piss me off. That's why I say laughing right now because I don't know what to think about this. It's very chaotic. It really is. And sorry, whew,
Yeah,
tough.
so about 6 weeks
I wonder if
ago,
this was a good idea to bring you on tonight, Megan. I don't even know if this was a good idea. Man, we should have brought in Mickey and Minnie Mouse. I think that would have been more palatable. This is like no, but this is what our viewers want to hear. We want to
Yeah,
educate, and it's kind of scary, and it's happening in real life. Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, I know it's frustrating, but I think people should be educated, right? I think that they should know about what's going on. I like you guys, I hold a lot of Facebook Live events, and I just educate people. I answer people's questions so that they know how the system works, and people have a right to know how our system works and what's going on.
And that's why you're here. I was only kidding. Don't get mad at me. I just was kidding. We do joke around a little bit over here, but you know, um, shucks, I lost my train of thought now. What
Dana
the hell?
Moore. Dana Moore. Just don't worry. I'm not going to use my giant blue slipper. I'm not going to slap anybody with my giant blue slipper. That's an inside joke, Megan. But we'll tell you later what that's about.
Okay. I
So,
mean, here's the people
no, I
are
was just gonna
concerned,
ask,
right?
how long more does this go on? I mean, how long more does this? I don't see the numbers. I know what I was gonna say. We know for a fact that, and you mentioned it, that at least two positive prisoners were released into the community. We know that. The other thing I know is I know that from we have a lot of sources, and I only reveal a source that I know is true. Is that we have had inmates that did not want to be released, and were released. We're forced to. They would rather have stayed in, and were not given that opportunity. They were forced to go to be released. So I think it's just a recipe for failure, and you put the community at risk with when you make these types of decisions, and it's just afraid for the community, afraid for the community.
Yeah.
Well, I will say that a defense attorney's job is also to assist the client. So if the public defenders are asking to release these people, then they should get on it and start getting services for the people that are going to be released so that they don't reoffend. And I don't see that happening. Instead, what I see happening is the public defenders writing a letter to the chief of the Honolulu Police Department instructing her not to arrest and not to charge crimes. I mean, I can't, that's crazy to me. I don't understand that.
Charlie's a former cop, Maui PD. I'm a former cop, Kauai PD. I read that. I actually saw it on the news. I saw Chief Ballard's response. She actually did a written response, and I'm so happy she did that. But you exactly, I forgot all about that. How dare them ask the law enforcement officer, the chief of police, to not arrest? Or that's insane. This
Yeah.
is insane. So that went for quarantine violators as well. So what the hell have the law if we're not going to enforce them? And this coming from a public defender who should have. I mean, I know the job is to overzealously represent your client and blah blah blah, but you have a duty to the community as well. You really have a duty and an obligation to make sure that the community is safe as well. And that to me was just not acceptable. I know, Charlie, that was crazy. Imagine you, Joe,
Well,
imagine you get the directive from the chief said, "Hey, boys
when I
and
saw
girls,
when I saw that paper, brother, all I did is was thank God I was short on toilet paper. That's all I can say. Thank God I was short on toilet paper.
that's the mentality." Yeah, that's the mentality. I know that the public defenders came out. A public defender and came out and wrote. It was more of a blanket request for all. You know, they didn't evaluate each inmate. They didn't evaluate each case. They just said all, release them all. And I think that you was kind of mentioning earlier. That's where the disconnect was. There was no oversight group that maybe the prosecutor should be at. Um, I know at the first go around, didn't the chief judge or whoever, administrative judge or whatever his name was, made a ruling that the sentencing judge would be the one that made a determination whether or not someone was released, which made a lot of sense because the sentencing judge was the one that was familiar with the case or should have been.
Yeah, so in both this last release, which was in March, and this current release, which is happening right now in August, the for felony cases, the judge that is overseeing the felony case is the one that gets to determine if there's going to be release or no release. The only difference is if it's a non-violent crime, so someone that is eligible to be released, then the defense attorney doesn't need to file a motion. It's automatically presumed that the defendant is going to be released unless the court finds that for the safety of the community or for the defendant that there cannot be release. So each judge for felony cases is determining that to decide release or no release.
Okay.
Only on the felonies though, right? Because the felonies there was still some, I guess, judge discretion, but on the misdemeanors and all the other, that's automatic, right?
Correct. The misdemeanors, and no matter what the misdemeanor is, no matter what the petty misdemeanor is, that's automatic. They just get released as long as they have a negative, supposed to have a negative COVID test.
Yeah, and
So
I gotta go find out. I gotta go find out from DPS about what's the testing protocol for these guys that are being released. I mean, are they, are they testing them and then letting them go? Well, we know on a couple of occasions at least they let them go positive. Whether that was a mistake or not, I don't know. But I mean, what's the testing protocol? Are they testing them and waiting for the period, the incubation period, or I think they're just testing them. They get the results the next day and they're gone.
I think that's what's happening, and the order also indicates that if they test positive and they're being treated, they can be released as long as they're no longer sick. They don't have to be retested to make sure that they're negative.
Hmm.
so
Charlie lost his brother to COVID in the early stages of COVID in New York. So I mean, I'm watching him and I can see his disgust and I think, I only bring that up because when we allow these things to happen, yeah, we're not taking the community's best interests at heart. We're not. We just the mission was to release prisoners at all costs, whatever. It didn't matter. And I don't think it was well vetted out. And I look at Charlie's face and I see the anger because it hit home for Charlie and a lot of
let, let, let me say this. It's they say you live another day, right? I'm just trying to understand a program that has good intent to reduce the population, but there are so many levels of safeguards that has to be in place. It sounds like this program it was done hastily because there is so many minute details just with COVID when somebody tests, when somebody is being infected, what is the most vulnerable period when they start to shed the most that they could be contagious. And what you're saying is that they're letting people out as long as they get treatment, but if they're at the highest stages of shedding, why would you want to let them go then, especially if they cannot be monitored? We're trying to stop the spread on a mega level. That's why we got the surge testing. You don't need to add more people into the community that can be that silent spreader, you know? So it's all of these things, and that's why I'm angry, because how, if somebody gets sick, how do they have a fighting chance to outrun this virus? When we're doing it with programs, it's just like we're giving a free injection every single time we let a prisoner out who may be infected. And it's up to the people to go play hide and seek and go try to find out where they're at. Because all you have right now, we have no vaccine, we have masks and social distancing. But if the person is right there next to you, and because of privacy laws, the people can't even be told who this person is. So all you know, the person can be right next to you, having one conversation, and especially if you're on Kupuna and you get vulnerable and say, oh, you poor thing, where you come from, boy? As long as you hold on 15-minute conversation and you're in an enclosed space, the viral load right then and there, bingo. What do you do? That's the reason why I get upset with this kind of stuff. I wish that more was done, because hey, if I know I won't get out, take all the time you want. I want you to make sure that when you let me out, it's for all the right reasons. And if I don't meet it, then fine, I understand, because hey, I committed a crime. Keep me in. But if there's rules saying that I'm going to be let out, make sure everything is in place. Just not take me as a number like from Lily Howe Bakery, put a thing or number 32, bingo, you out. Nothing like that. So sad, very sad.
I think they should put all of these guys in what the name of the governor's house?
Washington, please.
Washington Place. I think that they should set them up in a nice, build a nice structure, like in a U shape around the Washington Place, and then they can live there. Yeah.
Well, I will note that the governor does choose the Supreme Court justices, right? But the Supreme Court justices were petitioned by the public defender's office, so maybe they should go stay at the public defenders.
Oh, for sure. I mean, yeah, you got a good point. You got a good point. But when we've been talking, and again, we don't like it to be a political show, but this isn't about politics. It's about accountability. And when you look at the failures in this state, it all comes from the top. I mean, if you look at it's one thing if the DOH was screwed up, which they are. I mean, they're a mess. And if it was one department, then you can understand. But it's the DOH, it's the DOE, it's the unemployment, it's the DPS, it's every stinking department in this state that is failing. So it's kind of I know it's harsh words, but it's like, hey, Governor, can you show us a department that's actually working, that's actually functioning the way it should? Just find me one. I haven't seen it yet. And people are getting sick and dying, and there's no the emphasis from day one. And I posted my March 21st video today that I did on March 21st, where I said, based on the governor's press conference on that day, he was bought and paid for by the visitor industry, and that has been really validated over the last few months. That's his push. His whole push is opening tourism. And yet the public health and safety is taking a back seat. And that is what frustrates me and many others. And I wish he would talk to people like you, talk to people in the community that are in and work this life every day, and go listen to them. Go listen to the people that are doing it and get some recommendations, suggestions, rather than listen to the people that you have basically owe your life to politically, then you make stupid decisions, and that's what I see. And it's terrible. Terrible.
Well, like they say in a hotel, if you only like listening to people that live in a penthouse, and you don't like listening to people that live on the bottom floors, when the elevator breaks down, you're not gonna know what to do. So you got to be able to listen from the top to bottom, and it's sad. It's sad, but I'm fascinated in what your this revelation of this language that you're telling us, Megan. It's it's kind of mind-boggling. And you know, I kind of wonder, how does it get in there? Was it like somebody sleeping at the wheel and say, "Oh, slide them in," they're not going to check? You know, I mean, I just don't know, because any person with half a brain would know that something's not right, but it gets slipped in, and that's the kind of stuff that for the majority of the law-abiding citizens, they're already taxied with what's going on right now. Now, this, what you just explained to us tonight, is added on top of that. So, really, how much more can the people of Hawaii get pushed into one corner? That's what it seems like. They're getting pushed into one corner day after day. Now with this, and we talk about prisoners, you know, because there were some people that said, "Oh, they coming out, okay, yeah, you know, because misdemeanor, right?" But then now you're telling us about reoffending and you know what the rules of engagement is, and basically there's like a modern day city of refuge. They can run and nothing will happen to them. Nothing can be done to them, and it's a very very scary thought. Very scary.
Yeah, so I mean, I know this is not a political show, but it really does matter who people vote in. I think that you need doers and shakers nowadays instead of talkers. I think people are tired of, the government's, ego sitting around and talking to people that don't know what's going on and all they're doing is talking and they're not coming up with good results. You got to get people that are moving and shaking and doing things.
Yep, exactly.
Well, it depends who you listen to, because if you listen to the governor and his people, they're doing a fabulous job. It's every day you hear it. They're doing an amazing job, and it's kind of crazy. But we'll see. I don't know how much more the state can handle. With these numbers rising, with with the people, more people dying. Big Island again, like I said at the beginning of the show, is blowing up. Uh, I worry for our little island of Kauai. We couldn't handle 30, 40, 50 sick people on this island. We don't got the medical resources here. We don't have the hospital resources here, and it's a scary thing. And we don't need bad guys coming out and terrorizing our people. I mean, that's the other side of the coin that we gotta. I don't know. What's the answer, girl? Megan? As we wrapping
Yeah,
up the hour, what the heck do we do?
I honestly do see change coming. People like me who are younger with fresh ideas, who are technologically savvy, who pay attention to what's going on, we're running. You know, Andrea Tupola, she just won her whole district in the primary. I mean, she's a mover and a shaker and a doer, and I've been able to see those type of people while I'm campaigning, and those are the people we need. And we might be younger, and we might not have been around for 30 years, but that's a benefit.
Yep.
Well, I hope that this COVID will wake people up. COVID is nonpartisan. I told one guy today, he's getting on me. He's saying that wearing a mask, everybody knows, every other country knows that wearing a mask is not helping. I mean, like this guy came from he's from Windward Side, Kailua. He fixed outboard motors in Kailua. But he said, we're the sheep, we're following, we're ignorant, biased idiots, whatever, man. But this COVID is nonpartisan. It doesn't matter if you're a Democrat or Republican. It doesn't matter if you're white or black. It does not matter. And I hope and I pray, statewide, nationwide, that people wake up and stop voting party lines and start voting for the people. And they got to remember who stood up for the people when the shit hit the fan. Not when times are good. Times are good. It's easy. Trust me, I was a politician. You notice I said was, because I know the game. When things are good, it's good. You cannot make a mistake. You just go along and have a good time. When things get bad, look for the ones that stand up. Look for the ones that stand up and fight for the common person, the common resident. That's the ones you vote for. I don't care if they get on D, on R, on I, or what. It doesn't matter. People got to wake up this time. This ain't gonna be the first. the aftermath of this pandemic, economic aftermath, the social issues that's going to follow, is going to be worse than the pandemic itself. It's just going to be. And we're going to need leaders in the governor's office, in the legislature, in the prosecutor's office, everywhere down the line that stood up for the people when it mattered. That's how I vote. And I hope everybody vote the same way. The hell with this politics, the party politics. That's crap. It really is. And gosh, I sound like I'm running again. I'm not. I just, I get frustrated because we know, Charlie and I, we've had a lot of people, legislators, decision makers on the show, and we remember who's standing up, not afraid to speak up for the people, and you're one of them, and I appreciate you coming on.
Thank
So I,
you.
it's not political, but Megan, tell our viewers, and this thing is going to be seen by thousands of people. Just let them know how they can get in touch with you if they have any questions, if they wanna chat with you about your race for Honolulu's prosecutor.
I give my number out to everybody. I try to help as many people as possible. People call me up and they ask. Lawyers have a significant amount of information, and so we can help a significant amount of people. So I give out my number to everybody. So I'm going to give it out. It's 864-8896. That's my cell phone number. People can call me for help. People text me nasty messages too, all kinds of stuff. But I help a lot of people, and I answer all my phone calls. So call me if you want to chat. You have questions, call me up.
Look at that. That was probably, Josh Green did that once, and everybody took his number down. But that's all cool. That's all cool. You know who was on our show tonight? I'm sorry, I'm trying to find his. I know he made a comment, but Rick Hamada came on our show. I am like honored. Rick Hamada from 8:30 a.m. radio. It's I
KHVH.
HVH, man. I was like, I saw him in the comments and I can't find it. I don't know if he had deleted him after he realized that he was on the wrong show. He's like, oh my God, these guys are nuts. But Rick, I've known Rick for a long time. I'm honored that he actually came on our show. Probably because you're on, Megan. That's probably why he's on. But man, I'm honestly, I'm freaking honored that he came on our show, and I hope he comes more often. In fact, I'd love to have him as a guest. Oh, he's powerful. He's powerful. So
Yeah.
anyway, Charles, what you got, Charles?
Well, first of all, I'd like to extend my warmest thanks to you, Megan. Thank you so much. First time meeting you, but I like what I hear. And thank you for revealing, the information that you felt the people needed to know. And that's all we expect from anyone, especially someone who's running for office. To our viewers out there, thank you so much for joining us tonight. I'm going to make one political statement, and that is the only thing I hope you feel the same way I do. The only thing I expect from any politician is one, just be honest with me. Tell me if you can, and if you get into a bind, tell me that you may not be able to, or you can. You can make a statement to me, but just be upfront at that point before the voting happens. Don't tell me after. Don't tell me you can, and then after you make like you went to Siberia and nobody can find you. Don't do that, okay? Because everything is based on confidence, trust, and compassion. You gotta have trust. The people gotta have trust in you. You gotta have trust in your constituents. The people, you gotta be compassionate towards your constituents because a lot of them going to have problems that they're gonna come crying on your shoulder. You gotta be there. And the most is people gotta be able to trust you. Okay. And Megan, I think you have all of those traits that I think people will gravitate towards. So thank you very, very much. Mel,
Oh,
back
much
to you, Mel.
follow. Thank you.
Right on, Megan. Thank you very much. First of all, be safe up there. Be safe. We worry for all our brothers and sisters, and I get family in Honolulu, on the windward side. I get family in other places as well. I worry for the Big Island right now. I ask everybody, when you go sleep, before you go sleep, pray for the whole state, pray for the whole country. But, somebody posted that they had a case on Molokai. I don't know if that's true. Another one, a new one. I'm not sure. But we all one state, we all one big family, and we gotta take care of each other. So I worry when I see those numbers. I feel blessed that Kawhi, we're keeping it down, but we got a very strong mayor. We got a very strong. He has a very strong team, and we have people that respect. Most people that respect the rules and are willing to sacrifice to get to the other side of this thing. And I pray that that discipline can be spread throughout the island. We saw pictures today of where was that beach, Charlie? On Oahu?
Kaena,
Yeah,
outdoor
Kayana. I
driveway.
mean, people totally ignoring the orders. So, as long as that you have that in place, the number's not going to drop. People can continue to die. So that's my first thing is just stay safe, Megan. You make sure you wear your mask and do all of that stuff. And I wish you well in your election. I know it's not easy, man. Running for office is tough, and just got to keep working hard. We tell all our political guests that come on, just keep working hard, and and the people will see. A lot of people see this, and hopefully they give you a call and get to know more about you. So with that, tomorrow night is Sunday. We take our Sunday nights off unless something big happens tomorrow. We got to go track somebody down and get them on our show. But Monday we'll have Sherry Menor McNamara. Tuesday, Lieutenant Governor Josh Green comes back, and he's not in a good mood. And then we got the county auditor Les Kondo coming on next week as well
Not a
to talk about his
state auditor. A
state. What
state
did I say? What
county.
did I say? Oh,
Yeah,
shucks.
county.
State auditor Les Kondo will be on. I like how the news they say condo. He's condo. Les Kondo will be on Wednesday or Thursday. He's going to talk about his audits of contact tracing as well as the DOC. We've got a jam-packed week next week. You guys stay safe, man. Have a great remainder of the weekend. We love you guys. God bless. And again, like I said, stay safe.
Aloha.
Take care.
Mahalo for having me.
Thank you so much, Megan.